Let me say first, I want to thank my colleagues in ministry who have joined me here today, and I'll be calling on them. Let me also say we are extremely happy to have some of our political leadership here. I want to acknowledge Senator Lester Jackson from down in the Savannah area. We have our county commissioners here, newly elected county commissioners. Happy to have you here with us. And all of the others. Let me also say we have our Atlanta NAACP president here. Now I'm going to I told the other speakers they had 5 minutes. I'm going to take about 8 because I do have a statement to read, and I want to make sure I don't leave anything out of this statement. Yes, we have CARE here. I almost forgot CARE. We have several people from CARE here with us. Thank you. Today we come to announce a boycott to begin on Wednesday, April 7th. This boycott is against Coca-Cola, Delta Airlines, and Home Depot. It may expand to include UPS, Aflac, Georgia Power, and UBS. Let me be clear, this boycott is not what we want to do. These are fine companies. In 2019, before the pandemic, I took almost 100 flights in 2019 alone on Delta Airlines. I consider Delta my airline. I drink Coca-Cola products, especially Dasani water, Barks Root beer, and Sprite. My wife spends a lot of money at Home Depot. This boycott is not something we want to do. It's something we have to do. The question is why? The home of these corporations is Georgia. And these corporations did not speak out publicly or take a public position on SB 202 before it passed. In fact, Delta Airlines wrote an in-house memo that praised SB 202, claiming that it was considerably improved. The chairman and CEO of Coca-Cola said in June of last year that our company can do better. We must stand as allies with Black Lives Matter and other social justice causes. Well, when it had a chance to publicly stand for black and brown people, it did not. Home Depot has said nothing. Brown and black people across this country and around the world pay billions of dollars for their products and fill their coffers. Well, we cannot and will not support companies who do not support us in our struggle to cast our ballots and exercise our freedom. And we cannot support companies who support or remain silent about legislation that is based on a lie, that seeks to suppress our vote, is racist, and seeks to turn back time to Jim Crow. There is no way that these companies did not know that this legislation was based on a lie. We will vigilantly, strongly seek to get black and brown citizens and all Americans who are committed to freedom and equality and protecting and strengthening this democracy to boycott, to not give our money to support companies that do not support us. These companies have a corporate responsibility to oppose anything that makes it harder for people to vote. We have scheduled this boycott to begin on April 7th for a particular reason. It is our hope to meet virtually with the chairman and the CEOs of this company Monday or Tuesday of next week to discuss this matter, to get them to change their positions and to do 4 things to win the confidence of African Americans, our brown brothers and sisters, and the American people. These 4 things will cause us to end the boycott. We take note of the fact that yesterday Delta Airlines and Coca-Cola made public comments in opposition to SB 202. And while I am pleased with their public comments, let me also say that it is a little too late. They had the opportunity to speak out against this legislation some time ago. And I cannot help but believe that it was not until we talked about a boycott that they said we have to do something. On yesterday afternoon, Mr. James Quincy, the chairman of Coca-Cola, had his office reach out to arrange a virtual meeting with me. It was a blunt and frank conversation. And I reminded Mr. Quincy that he had meetings, or Coca-Cola had meetings with state legislators. They did not speak out against the bill then. So I'm not sure why, except for this boycott, they're speaking out against this bill now. There are 4 things that these companies must do in order not to have a boycott. First, they must publicly, through a press conference, announce their opposition to SB 202 and seek to get Georgia to reconsider this legislation. Second, they have to speak out against legislation proposed in Arizona, Florida, Michigan, Texas, and other states that have the same purpose as SB 202. The Republicans have launched a national campaign to suppress our vote and make it harder for black and brown people to vote. As of today, there are 361 bills to restrict voting rights in 47 states. These companies are national and international, and they have to speak out nationally and publicly in opposition to these bills. And more than that, they have to use their lobbyists and their money to seek to influence these legislators. Third, they have to express their support for H.R. 1, the For the People Act, and H.R. 4, the Voting Rights Advancement Act of 2019, federal legislation that would block most of what these bills are trying to do. And 4, they have to support the litigation that we are already engaged in against this legislation. If they commit and if they act, and let me say it again, commit and act. Faith without works is dead. Then we will end the boycott. There are other Georgia companies who have not spoken out against these bills. We're talking about Aflac, Georgia Power, UBS, and others. They too must speak out if they do not want to be boycotted. We are prepared to do what must be done to inform the nation about this boycott and make it effective. This includes we will engage every legislative black caucus across the nation on a strategic direct action campaign. We're going to establish message discipline for this campaign, and we are inviting and urging the national civil rights organizations, the NAACP, the National Action Network, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and the Conference of National Black Churches to join us in this boycott. We will also reach out to the Divine Nine and to the Masons and to the Eastern Star. Our focus is on a corporate boycott. Each individual makes a decision not to purchase or spend their dollars on any of the boycotted corporations. To engage with our efforts, to engage in other efforts would divide and distract us. Those who choose to boycott the film industry, supports, and other areas are free to choose as they decide, and we do not criticize them. In fact, we also can support their effort, but we will concentrate on this corporate accountability. Let me also close by addressing a word to Governor Kemp. Yesterday, he said any talk of a boycott in the midst of a pandemic is absolutely ridiculous. Well, Governor, it is no more ridiculous than the legislature passing and you signing a bill that you even admit is based on a lie. It is no more ridiculous than you stating that the bill expands voting rights when you know it reduces the time and makes it harder to cast an absentee ballot, that it is more ridiculous than moving ballot boxes inside buildings that close at 5 p.m. so the folk who get off to work after 5 cannot cast their ballot. And it is no more ridiculous than you signing a bill that said that people standing in a line 5 or 6 hours can't get some water or a snack. And it is no more ridiculous than you signing a bill that says a partisan state election commission can come into another county, take over that county's election, and certify the results, which means if this bill was in place in 2020, that same commission could have come about and changed the election results in Georgia. We will not stand by and let this ridiculous position stand. Brothers and sisters, if these corporations do not do what we have called upon them to do, we will press this boycott. We will not give them our money. We will learn to like some other drinks. We will learn to go to some other store. We will learn to fly on some other airline. But we're not going to support these corporations. Let me close by saying that we are re-adopting the national hymn of the civil rights movement because we're not depressed, we're not discouraged. Black folk are resilient. And so we're going to sing again. We shall overcome. Deep in our heart, we do believe we shall overcome. Let me call on the Reverend Lee May, followed by Dr. Jamal Bryant.
All right, Bishop. Nobody turn us around. Nobody.
Thank you, Bishop. Now, I wore my vote mask here this morning for a reason. Literally tens of thousands of people around the state of Georgia walked around this state donning masks that said vote because we believed in this thing that we call democracy, that we all have value, that we all can participate in this political experiment that America has been dealing with for hundreds of years now. Now, the reality is, as Bishop has mentioned just earlier, many of us, we embrace a faith that connects our faith, our love, our belief in God with our love for our neighbor. And so the men and women who are standing here today, we are standing together in unity to fight against an oppressive, a suppressive law that is unjust, that will do the exact opposite of what we were built to do, which is to fight for humanity. Now here's the thing. So I'm so glad Bishop called this boycott today, because I tried to gather many of these pastors and bishops together with the governor. Crickets. Didn't hear one word. I tried to gather this same group of people with the Speaker of the House. Nothing. We pushed our way in to meet with the lieutenant governor. We literally walked in and forced a meeting. The only person that met with us that was scheduled was the Senate Majority Leader. And what we heard from him looked nothing like what was passed overnight the next day. And so, look, we're here today because we have to press this button, as Bishop has stated. I want us to be very clear of what we're asking for. We don't want to have to fight, but the fight is in us.
That's it.
We don't want to have to fight, but the fight is not for us, but it's for the people.
That's it.
We had record turnout, you all. We had record turnout in this election. And let me tell you why it was a victory. It wasn't a victory because of the outcome of the election. It wasn't that a Democrat or a Republican won or lost. That wasn't the victory in this election.
That's right.
The victory was record number of people coming out representing this nation. That was the victory. See, we came together, many of us pastors and churches, to mobilize our people to get out the vote. We did it based upon the laws that were in place, that this Republican legislature and governor put in place. This the laws that they put in place. And we conducted ourselves legally. And yet now, because we did what we did, we took advantage of the laws. They are adjusting, they're changing the laws. So we got to do these 4 things that the bishop has just said. And I'm going to get out of your way. We got to make sure that these companies stand out publicly, just like this,
That's it.
to say Senate Bill 202 is bad law.
That's right.
They got to stand up publicly and say any other bills like this all across the country must be rejected unanimously.
That's it.
They have to stand up with us, y'all, to support H.R. 1 and H.R. 4, y'all, that we can expand voting rights and stop this nonsense. And then they got to put some money behind the litigation, right? We got to put some money behind these lawsuits that are fighting to stop this bad law.
That's it.
So, y'all, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be real transparent with y'all. I talked to my wife for a long time about whether I should join this boycott. I've never been on the front lines of a boycott. Y'all know me. I've been in politics for a long time. As a matter of fact, in DeKalb, I started Sunday voting. We started Sunday voting in DeKalb County, the first county to start it. And so you see, they wanted to mess with it and adjust it. But I toiled and prayed about joining this boycott, and I came out on the side that I had to. I couldn't afford to be quiet, y'all. And so April 7th is the day. Delta, Home Depot, Coca-Cola, we expect to see these 4 things walked out in practical ways by April the 7th, or it's on like Donkey Kong, as the young folks say, right? We're ready to go. We're ready to go. And I'm so thankful. Amen.
Thank you, Bishop Jackson, for showing once again remarkable leadership in the tradition of the Black Church. I'm reminded of a book by Rick Allen called Atlanta Rising, the Invention of an International City. And he talks about in 1964, when it is that Martin Luther King Jr. received the Nobel Peace Prize, that then Mayor Ivan Allen was hosting a dinner to show the face of integration in the South, and nobody would buy a ticket. And as a consequence, Mayor Allen called Robert Woodruff and said, can Coca-Cola get behind this? Because Atlanta is right on the edge of becoming an international city.
That's it.
He called then the president of Coca-Cola, and he, just coming back from a 14-year assignment in South Africa, saw how apartheid had impacted the economy and didn't want to see that happen in Atlanta. As a consequence, Coca-Cola in 1964 raised the standard of what racial equality and justice is supposed to look like, not just in Atlanta, but for America. And so here we are in 2021, and Coca-Cola is doing the electric slide backwards, going further away from where we should be to where it is that our ancestors has already fought so we would never return. Coca-Cola, this is not it. In the home of John Lewis, who said that the most powerful weapon we have that is nonviolent is the vote. And that is the weapon that we've got to use. Coca-Cola, this is not it. In the headquarters of Hosea Williams, who used to sing with overalls, "Before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave." Coca-Cola, this is not it. When more first-time voters showed up in January than showed up in November. Coca-Cola, this is not it. Making it illegal for us to be able to give out water. I need you to see that you are seeing today preachers who are prepared to break the law and give out water to voters who understand that the real responsibility of democracy is not to stop people from voting, but to get people to vote. This is Atlanta, an international city with an international thoroughfare. Our bishop is going to be meeting between now and on the 7th with those heads. But our next tier is to meet with those workers that were raised on the shoulders of Maynard Jackson. We're talking about those who work in retail, those who work in food, those who are mechanics, those who are flight attendants. What will it look like if we get all black and brown workers to take a day off from working so that we can raise the standard? I've got to remind Coca-Cola that we know how to flip a state. We did not just flip a state, we did acrobats so that 2 senators were elected. And so please know that this is not a threat, but that this is a promise. Pastor Brown, what do you mean by that? I am telling you right here on the grounds of Coca-Cola that beginning on April 7th, you're getting ready to see black and brown people shift if there is not a change. I know that this is the headquarters of Coca-Cola, but Pepsi might be the taste of a new generation if in fact we do not see remarkable change happen and we don't see remarkable shift take place. We are grateful that Delta takes to the friendly skies, but by April 7th, Southwest told us we are cleared for takeoff, and we're going to take them at their word. Home Depot, we know that Lowe's is still open, and we can get hammer, nails, and paint somewhere else. All of us had to come on today because none of us as faith leaders will be available on tomorrow. We will not be available tomorrow because tomorrow is Good Friday. In Good Friday, we are reminded that while Jesus was hanging on the cross, Roman soldiers heard him when he said, "I thirst." And they dipped a sponge and dipped it in vinegar, and he refused to take it. I would dare say if Jesus was being crucified today and they offered him Coca-Cola, he would never take it, because he understands that Coca-Cola is on the side of the Roman Empire and not on the side of the oppressed people. And so we thirst for liberty and justice for all. Coca-Cola, do the right thing so that we do not thirst and die of dehydration trying to get democracy to a generation who believes that voting is our right and voting is our privilege.
Dr. Darley, followed by Reverend Jones.
I never thought in all my time that I'd be the oldest person in a march. You now are looking at what it looks like when the torch has been passed on. I had my first rally in 1959 in Nashville when I was 18 years old. And I looked up and I looked as Bishop Bryan talked about the historicity of marching. When I thought about in February the 3rd, 1870, that there was a group and they had to put the 15th Amendment. The 15th Amendment in the United States of America said that regardless of one's color, regardless of one's race or servitude, that they could fight. That was 151 years ago. 56 years ago, we thought we passed the voting rights. But now look at us, standing out here on Coca-Cola ground. Let me say this. We are asking, demanding that Coca-Cola, Delta, and the other companies, now that you do what is right. 150 years ago, you didn't do it. 56 years ago, you didn't do it. Now is the time that it must be done. We've got to understand one thing. When we said in 19, I'll be 80 years old pretty soon. My knees are saying, hurry up and finish. But I'll say this. Now is the time, and what it is, when we start marching on Selma, they said they won't stay out there marching. We stayed out there 1 year and 15 days. We don't mind boycotting. We will not bend. We will not bow. We will not break. We will not back up. This is our time, and we're ready to boycott and ready to march.
That's it. Come on, Senator. All right.
I'm Reverend Shannon Jones, President of Concerned Black Clergy,
That's it.
Metropolitan Atlanta.
All right.
In 1886, well, before I say that, I want to say thank you, Bishop Jackson, for bringing together this august body of prophets. In 1886, there was a great expansion of black businesses in the state of Georgia, in the city of Atlanta.
Right.
Coca-Cola was born in 1886. The Ebenezer Baptist Church, America's Freedom Church, the home church of the American Civil Rights Movement, founded in 1886. In 1886, black people began to expand their businesses. Our churches began to grow, and we walked alongside Coca-Cola, two babies in the city of Atlanta, in the racist state of Georgia, getting their sea legs and marching together. And the other day, as I looked back, I noticed that Coca-Cola was not standing with black people and marginalized people in the city of Atlanta and in the racist state of Georgia. I looked back and I did not see Coca-Cola. I reached for my Coca-Cola because I was thirsty. Like Jesus, I thirst. We were thirsty because we were trying to talk to a governor named Brian Pontius Pilate Kemp to tell him that his ways were wrong. Our lips and our throats were parched because we were speaking freedom and speaking equality and speaking liberation. Our throats were parched because we were standing up to speak truth to power. And so I reached for my Coke. The Atlanta boy that I am, I reached for my Coke. And when I reached for my Coke, can you hold this for me? Hold this mic for me. Reach for my Coke, I noticed something. I noticed something about my Coke.
What's wrong with your Coke?
Something was wrong with my
What's wrong
Coke.
with the Coke?
And I know I'm talking to the media,
What's wrong with the Coke?
so I want to make sure that the media can hear.
What's wrong with the Coke?
My Coke was flat.
No
There was no fizzle
No fizzle.
in my Coke. My Coke was flat. It made no noise. It was silent, and silence is betrayal.
Silent Coke.
And so on April the 7th, we're going to find out. On April the 7th, we're going to find out whether Coke, you had laryngitis. Or if you're really standing against liberation. We're going to find out if you had laryngitis. Or if you really don't give a damn about those who have invested in Coca-Cola. So on April the 7th, we may have to divest. Not only from Coke, we might have to divest from Home Depot. Not only Home Depot, we might have to divest from Affleck. Not only Affleck, but we might have to divest from Georgia Power and light candles again. On April the 7th, we're going to find out. But right now, my Coke is flat. And it's useless to the thirst of those who speak for justice.
We have Bishop Fan and then Richard Rose. Want to kill the grass?
Thank you so much. But I'm going to start on that because that Coke is flat.
Well,
Well, I don't want to step on those Lord of mercy, Jesus. Spread my legs, spread my legs. I'm going to say, man, why you put that flat Coke in front of me? But anyway, I'm Greg Fan. I'm the president of South Florida Ministerial Alliance and also part of organized labor. And I just want to say to you all today, a lot has been said and a lot of truth has been told. Lies have not been told today.
That's it.
We heard a lot of lies under the demon dome. That's what I call a lot of evil people down there doing evil things to good people. Hey, can I get a witness here? I want to just say to you today is, and I'm not going to be long, because I can be, but I'm not, because his Coke was flat. But I do want to tell you this. We don't feel no wage tied. The Lord has not brought us this far to leave us. And we're going to march, and we're going to march, and we're going to keep on talking until hell freezes over. And Coke, don't be a joke. Just do the right thing.
Do the right thing. Amen. That's Richard Rose.
Good afternoon. I'm Richard Rose, president of the Atlanta NACP. You know, we learned back in the 60s, a lady from Rouville, Mississippi said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
I hear you, sir.
And I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired with racism being an acceptable political philosophy.
That's it.
It's time for all of these corporations. Do not support racism with your dollars. Because what you're doing, you telling us what you really feel about justice. You telling us what you really feel about patriotism. You telling us what you really feel about black and brown America. You sending us a message, we need to figure out how to send you a message.
Speak, sir.
This is, America has been a racist, bipartisanship racist.
That's it.
But unfortunately, even though the NACP is nonpartisan, we have to speak the truth. And the truth is, the Republican Party has adopted racism as their principal policy, as their principal consideration when they look at legislation.
That's right.
We have to stand up. We want these corporations to make a new commitment that you will not support racism in any form, in any donation, that you will recognize if you see racist policies and don't speak out and don't do anything about them, that you are racist also. We want all of these corporations, all of the people, we want America to stand up and say we repudiate racism in all of its forms, in all of its systems, in all of its policies, in all of the political structure. We want you to stand up and be on the side of justice. We want you to be on the side of all America. From Canada to Mexico, from sea to shining sea. We ask you to speak up and speak out and make a new commitment that you will fight racism in all of its forms, in education, in economic, in the justice system, in voting rights, in health, in housing, in environment. We ask you to make a new stand today. And while you're at it, demand that Georgia's governor get a special session to repeal SB 202. Thank you so much.
All right. At this point, President Woodall's not here, is he? You want the commissioner to speak? Commissioner, you want to say a word?
Can I say a few words?
Say a few words.
Thank you, Bishop. I am Commissioner. Can you hear me? Oh, the mic's off. I'm sorry. I thought I was being loud. I'm Commissioner Khadijah Abdul Rahman, District 6. I'm here standing in solidarity. Bishop Jackson, Reverend Durley, Reverend Fan, Reverend Houston, all these individuals behind me know very well, Pastor Brian. All of them know who I am. But let me tell you who I am. I am a child of God.
That's right.
I am someone who has the very gifted, talented of being the queen of boycotts in Atlanta.
All right.
And as the queen of boycotts in Atlanta that happened to be an elected official at Fulton County Commission, understand we will not settle for the disrespect of our community. We will not sit for the disrespect of our dollars. Please do not be fooled by what you see out here today. You have the religious community, you have everyone from the imams to the rabbis to the ministers. We are all together in solidarity today. Across this United States, they have watched Governor Kemp disrespect the community of black and brown people. We have watched Kemp disrespectfully sign the most oppressive legislation with 7 white men right in front of a picture of a slave plantation. The message you sent to us, Governor Kemp, was clear, that you won't respect us as individuals, but like the bishop said, you will respect our dollars. Understand this today, that I stand in solidarity as I work with the Fulton County Commission. We got plenty of attorneys up there that need something to do. This restrictive legislation will be what someone can decide to come to Fulton County after all the votes are cast and overturn it just because. Because I promise you, if Trump was the president right now, we would not be here. We would not be fighting this. And I think it's a shame that Governor Kemp is on the wrong side of history. Take a good look at all these people that I'm standing with today, because we are on the right side of history. And so what I say to you, as you drug an elected black official, Park Cannon, out of that state legislator where she works, and because she knocked on the door, we are all here to answer. So what I'm saying to you, once again, as the eyes of the world are looking at Georgia, they looked at Georgia when Biden was on the ballot. They looked at Georgia when Warnock and Ossoff was on the ballot. The eyes of Georgia, the eyes of the nation are on Georgia today, as we come together in solidarity to let you know we will not spend a dime with you. We will show you that if you don't understand black and brown, you will understand green. So what I say to you today, join us. Join us in showing Coca and others that you will not put it in a bow, because it's still Jim Crow. We are not going to go for the okie doke. We will fight you tooth and nail, and this is 2021 and not 1964. We ain't going back, and we ain't letting you take us back. So what I say to you, this boycott is real. What you don't know is they was holding the sister back. When I was getting calls for the boycotts, they were saying, wait, Khadijah, wait, Commissioner, wait. But the bishop has given me my marching orders. So I ask that you join us across this great state of Georgia, and you join us across this United States, and you come in on this boycott to show Governor Kemp that he is about to lose his job. Thank you.
And my brothers and sisters, we're going to have one last speaker, then we'll entertain questions. Brother Clark from the Labor Union, you want to address us?
Questions will be for media only, and identify yourself when we get to that section.
I am Elder Charles Clark with the National AFL-CIO, and I want to say to this August group and to all who are here that the National AFL-CIO, our President Trunka, is in complete support and agreement with the fight to change the condition here in Georgia. We have our state federation as well as our central labor councils. They are all here ready and willing to take whatever direction that we need to go. Now, as I was thinking about what to say, my mind fell upon a cartoon that I used to look at, Bishop. It's those Charlie Brown cartoons. And that was Linus was laying on the couch looking at television. And Lucy walked in and demanded that he change the channel to another station that she wanted him to look at. And so Linus looked at her and says, By what authority are you demanding that I change the channel? Lucy looked at it and she said, these 5 fingers. She said, individually, they are one. But when I start bringing these 5 fingers together, they come together into a fist that had the power to bring about change. I say that because individually, we are one, but we can come together as we're doing today to be a mighty force to say to the governor and to the Republican Party, we have the power to change. Ain't no power like the people power, because the people power don't stop.
That's right.
Thank you.
That's right. All right. All right.
Thank you, sir. We'll grab that.
Speak from your heart.
I got you. I got you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. I bring tidings of peace, love, and solidarity from the Muslim community. I'll take this off so y'all can hear me. My name is Murtaza Khwaja. I'm the Legal and Policy Director at CARE Georgia. CARE Georgia is the Georgia chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations. We are the nation's largest Muslim civil rights group. We promote, advocate, and defend for the civil rights and liberties of Georgia Muslims and extension, all Georgians. We are proud to stand together with our coalition partners and our black brothers and sisters here today to speak out against SB 202. We stand together on stolen indigenous land of the Cherokee people. We stand together on the land where white men and white supremacists, perpetuated a genocide against the indigenous people of this land. We stand together on the land where white men and white supremacists enslaved generations of black men and black women. We stand together on the land where white men and white supremacists perpetuated discrimination, policies of segregation, and the omnipresent specter of Jim Crow, which continues to permeate every single institution to this day. We stand together on the land where our movement's forefathers rose to fight against white supremacy, where the leaders of yesteryear had dreams, marches, and got into good trouble. We stand together on the land where white men and white supremacists attempt to bring us back to Jim Crow by oppressing our people, by suppressing our vote. And we stand together with our black brothers and sisters, our immigrant brothers and sisters, and yes, our white brothers and sisters against white supremacy and SB 202. SB 202 is an attack on each and every one of our communities. It is built on the myth and lies of a false narrative of a stolen election. Despite election watchdogs, experts, and community advocates saying that this is the most secure election in American history. This lie was crafted by and spread by one of the greatest con men this country has ever seen.
That's it.
A con man who was impeached twice from the office of presidency. A con man who encouraged a violent insurrection on our seat of government. Rather than to reject these insidious, patently false, and ridiculous claims, the Georgia legislature chose to embrace the wild musings of a con man. Rather than celebrate and build upon the historic turnout we saw in the general and runoff elections, the legislature decided to undermine the integrity of the elections they themselves were voted in from. Rather than increasing access to the ballot for all eligible Georgians, SB 202 restricts early voting, access to drop boxes, and encourages racist challenges to the validity of individual votes. Pure and simple, this bill is state-sponsored violence.
That's right.
We stand together with the blueprint from black-led, immigrant-led, and Muslim-led organizations and faith-led organizations of how to combat voter suppression. Despite the efforts to undermine election integrity and suppress our votes, we will fight together.
That's it.
We stand together knowing that in trying to silence voters with this absurd law, Georgians will respond by making their voices heard in the courts, in this boycott, and next year at polling places. They may come to suppress our vote, but in the wisdom, the immortal wisdom of the inimitable Maya Angelou, Still Like Air Will Rise.
That's it. That's it.
Thank you so much. All right, we have any questions?
Say the name of your outlet before you ask your question, please.
My name's Johnny. I'm with WABE in Atlanta. My name's Johnny. I'm a reporter with WABE in Atlanta. I just wanted to make sure I'm understanding y'all properly and correctly here. Are y'all calling for a boycott of Coke despite the statements that the corporation has made? And were those statements made soon enough, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, it's clear they were not made soon enough because they weren't made until after the bill passed. Second, I think it's important to understand that while we appreciate their statement, they have not yet done any of the 4 things that we've said they must do. So while I'm confident they will do it, they still have to do it.
And in the meantime, are you calling for a boycott? Until they do those 4 things, are you calling for a boycott?
The boycott is scheduled to begin on April the 7th. So between now, today, and let me simply say, one of the important reasons about having this today, we want the world to understand that we're not fools.
That's right.
So it's not what you say, it's what you do.
What you do. That's it.
All right?
Gotta be up in front of the, so you won't get feedback. Step in front of the.
Nicole Carr with WSB. Can you just tell us more about the meeting plan before April 7th with these corporate heads? What details can you give us about that?
Well, hoping we can meet with all of these corporate executives, to get them to make a commitment on the 4 things that we stated. If they cannot make a commitment on those 4 things, and I emphasize all 4 things, then we will continue the boycott. We need them to exercise corporate responsibility. And so that means if you oppose the bill in Georgia, you ought to oppose the bill all over the country. If you believe that if states have sought to suppress our vote, then we have to depend upon the federal government. And so therefore, we need to support H.R. 1 and H.R. 4. And let me also say this, I strongly suspect that these matters are going to go before the United States Supreme Court. We're going to get a chance to find out what the Supreme Court is really like. And I think that's important, because the fact of the matter is it was the Supreme Court which created this mess when they gutted the Voting Rights Act in Shelby versus Holder. So the Supreme Court will have a chance to clean up the mess that it created. I will know later today. Coca-Cola has committed to try to arrange for this meeting, and I hope for their sake and the others that they're successful.